What's up, guys? So today is a special day. This is going to be the tutorial on how to be at least sub 20 and comfortably sub 15. I'm sub 14 now. I average like 12 to 13 usually, and I think with these tips I'm going to tell you, I think you can be comfortably sub 15 because a lot of people spam TPS, and for a lot of like older people, mainly like people who are like, honestly, people who are like 30 who like can't just spam like, honestly, you can see me do this. Like, I'm not that fast at TPS. I turn at like 3 to 4 TPS a second, and if you can make your solves 60 moves a solve, that's good enough for sub 15, like, really. And that's what this tutorial is going to kind of explain, is how I go about my solves. And if you want to try to be a slow solver but still be sub 15, like I would say I have a very similar turning style to like Speed Cube Review. If you watch his solves, he's not very fast, but he's super efficient and he knows exactly what he's doing during his solves. And it's super nice to watch it because he's super fluid and he does some nice, interesting tricks that a lot of people don't see because he knows so much. So, we're just going to get into it, and first I'm going to start with cross. All right, so the main tip that I have for cross is your goal is to have your cross at least around like 2 or 3 seconds. And the way you do that, the tip that I have is to do blind cross solves, which is kind of really challenging at first, especially if you're around like sub 20 and you're not used to doing cross. So like you're probably doing like 2 pieces at a time or something. You know what I mean? But what you need to do is you try to find all 4 pieces and try to plan them out and do them blind. So like if I were to just look at this right now, I could shut my eyes and go like L2, R prime, B prime, R prime, and then I would have to solve this green pair with an F, D prime, L. So like if I were to do that right now, and that's my cross, and you just do this over and over and over again. So what do we have now? Okay, so we have 2 solve pairs. So, and then we have blue and right here. So I know it's literally just U2, D2, F prime, L2. And there's your cross. And do this literally 100 times before a session. Maybe not 100, maybe like 50 times before a session, and you will be super good. For this, we can actually preserve this pair. I have another tip that I'm going to go into about how I'm doing my crosses, because you can actually, for this, do a D2, L, and then we can preserve this pair by doing an R and then inserting this green and then doing something about this pair. So watch. We're going to do a D2, L, and that solves these 2. And then for this, I'm actually going to solve this orange and insert that green and then move that out of the way and then solve the cross. And now we have a free pair. So besides doing blind cross solves, right, if you're looking to get into sub 15, what I started doing besides blind cross solves is really what I hit on. I don't know if I hit on it yet. I've been filming this a few times, but every cross has multiple solutions. So like with this, right, you could do something like D prime, F, L, and then like solve the blue, which is like, okay, something like that. Or you could solve this blue like that and then do something like that. But like that's kind of, oh, I gave you an X cross, but you know, that seemed like a worse cross, right? But the whole point is that every cross has a different solution with different efficiencies and different ergonomics. And over time, you'll start to see these patterns. Like you'll notice that I'm kind of just used to this. So I know that, like, see, boom, 1 pair. But over time, you'll notice these patterns, and that'll make it a lot easier to plan the cross. Like if I can find one. Oh, so perfect. So for this, right, this is like a super awkward case because like you could solve it like this and then insert that. But what it's better to do is you can actually, oh, let me see, that was like this. So you could just do a D2, F, like that. Does that make sense? So what I'm actually going to show you right now is how I do my cross, and it's a little bit of cross plus 1, but it's not exactly cross plus 1. It's more just adjusting your cross to preserve pairs and leave pairs either connected in the top layer or setting up. JPerm has a really good video about how you can adjust your cross with just like a U move or something, and you can set up good pairs. So this is a good example where I have this pair right here, and you're thinking, well, what can I do with that? So what you do is you try to determine what gen is your cross. And I know this is honestly a really bad cross because it's going to be 1 gen, 2 gen, 3 gen, 4 gen. But I can determine what is going to affect this. I know L isn't, F isn't, this will, and U will. So if I adjust my cross to work around this, I can preserve it. So what I'm going to do, just that. And see how I already put these 3 in? And now all I have to do is insert this green and move this out of the way. So I'm just going to move that out of the way, insert that green, and do a D2. And now I have this free pair, which I solve like that. Okay? So the next one, I have another scramble. So for this one, right? Okay, so the free pair here is this one. So we're trying to preserve that. And what you could do is, look, you see this red's here, this is ready to insert, so that's easy. We'll just put that right there. But we're trying to preserve this pair around these 2 pieces. And so you don't want to do that and then insert the pair because that breaks it up, right? So what you want to do is you want to find a different solution. And what you could do is do an F and then line it up and then pair that in and do an F2. And now you have this pair that sets up to a 3-move insert. See what I mean? And then you just do the rest of the solve like a good boy. Oh, well, LOL, got a bad solve. But that's the whole point around, you can adjust your cross to preserve pairs and set up pieces. And once you get really good at your cross, you'll be able to start looking at pairs and planning ahead. And doing this for a long time has really helped me with my cross +1 and really planning ahead. So the next tip I have for cross +1 is how to do X crosses a little bit. And it's mainly just 2 main tricks I learned how to do X crosses. And it's not very intuitive. You have to learn the cases that you can build to set up to an X cross. And the main trick I learned, right, is when you have this situation where you have, ignore that over there, but you have this, that, and you want to solve this in here. And you notice that this edge is solved and you have this corner right here. You could solve that like that, and you see how this breaks that up though? Well, you could line this up over here and that pairs this up with this block and it makes an X cross. And this is a pretty good, it's an easy solution because this is how Max Park solves his crosses, is he just does that. Well, if you can figure out, like, let's say you have this case, right, where you have this edge sitting here and you have this, but you don't know how to insert it. Well, you know now that if you put it like this and insert it like that, now you have an X cross. See what I mean? And then, well, then we do that. The next is kind of just an explanation on how you can use keyhole to solve an X cross. So we're gonna put that there to solve the cross. And see, we have this solved edge pair. So what you need to do is you need to find the corner, and all you have to do is just move it underneath and without disturbing any other pieces, right? And you just put the corner in and you do that. The main issue that people have is when you do this, you get kind of confused and you either like pull the edge out, or you put it in like the wrong slot, or a lot of the times, like the thing that I do is I usually get this case and I have to put the edge in. And what I usually do is I pull the corner out on accident. But that's another tip that you can use, right? Or also with this, you have to use an F move, which I don't do, but it seems like I always end up getting F cases. But with this, right, it's the same thing as keyhole, where instead of having the edge in there and slotting that, now you just move that out of the way and you put that in like that, and that's how you make an X cross. And all you have to do really when you do this is just make sure you don't mess up these edges. So when you solve your cross, like the 2-gen situation I said, you want to keep this like this, and like you want to insert this with like an F2 or like an L2, so you preserve this corner over here. And then when you do a D2, you line that up. Or you want to do this, where you see how you have this edge in here? You would line this up and then do an L2 and then build the block and then do that. Does that make sense? And then you do the rest of your solve. But those are my main tips for cross. This is going to be a pretty long video just with all the stuff that I'm going over. But that's kind of my whole way that I do cross. And I hope that gives you some extra tips you haven't seen in any videos. The very last tip is when you get good at cross, try to do it as fast as possible. That was something that I didn't do for a while, and it actually took like a second off my time. Because like you can see me doing these crosses, right? Like there you go. There's, oh, look, and we could have done an X cross, but I didn't. There we go, there's an X cross. But you see me doing these crosses, right? But what I was doing was I could plan out a cross really fast, but then I was thinking the whole time during the cross, where you should be able to just plan out a solution and just do it. So like with this, see, and there you go. But those are my cross tips. I guess I'm going to make this like a multi-part video, but those are the cross tips. I hope you learned something and you can do X crosses and preserve pairs now. This should get you literally to sub 15 with your crosses, because your goal is supposed to be sub 3. Good luck. Thanks.